Don't you guys love this? So primitive of me to be doing this the way I'm doing it. It's a little primitive. Okay, so I'm doing this one today, Saturday, kind of maybe as a prelude to the one I did a couple of days ago, where I talked about the lawsuit with Hans. I didn't talk with him. I talked about the lawsuit that Hans has filed. One thing I want you guys to know is that I get really invested when I see something that is morally or ethically or integrity is warped or thrown to the wind. I can't stand liars or cheaters or any of that. I think that has to do with the spiritual realm that I live in, because I'm very aware that when you take your last breath, you have to atone for everything. So you might as well start practicing now to be a good person. But that goes in one ear and out the other, but I don't tell anybody that. So I want to correct something from the video I uploaded yesterday. Obviously, or no, maybe not obviously, I love talking with people, one-on-one, eyesight to eyesight, smile to smile, cringe to cringe. I read people's body language. I know how to adjust my conversation according to someone else. The problem for me is I don't have anyone else to talk to about the things that I really care about, and that is elite performance. It wasn't until the last couple of years that anybody in my immediate vicinity knew anything about my college education, or, you know, when I went across the United States, they had no idea what I was doing. In fact, they didn't even know that I went across the United States. So it's just not, and part of that is because everybody that I've worked with, every client, every friend, every whatever, it's all confidential. And being that the majority of my life is confidential, and I don't like attention myself, I never really talked to anybody about me. And it wasn't until the last couple of years that I started actually bringing anything out about myself. So obviously I would love to have someone sitting in a chair next to me and we talking about this, and for them to be at least 3/4 knowledgeable about the topics that I talk about or that I care about. But that's just not likely to happen. And what that made me realize is that online chess is a good thing for those people who don't have people in their immediate vicinity that they can play a game of chess with over the board. Because I thought about baseball players or football players who might be very, very good at it, but they have no team. Or in fact, the families who can't afford the sporting fees. You know, there's a lot of really good talent that's probably going to waste. And when I'm done with this video, I'm going to go buy my Powerball ticket, because if I win that it's $825 million. I can spend $2 to do that, because what I would do with that money is what Mackenzie Bezos, or whatever her last name is now, is doing. I find good things to do with it. And that's part of the woke crowd. I'm sorry, I will bring that up at some time. I want to point out a couple of things. In the upcoming videos that I'm hoping to do, I'm going to talk about Lewis Hamilton and Formula One and Abu Dhabi. I'm going to talk about Live Golf. I'm going to bring that up. The only issue I have with Live Golf right now is that, unfortunately, I don't believe any sport or participant in professional sports, or maybe even CEOs, I don't know. I don't think you should align yourself with a political faction of any kind. I think you should have two natures. And that's basically what I teach, is you have the everyday common nature that you have that makes coffee or drinks coffee or goes to McDonald's or whatever. And then you have your on-field behavior, or you have your on over-the-board behavior, or on ice or whatever, or on the mountain. And what I teach is to keep those two separate, because the person that plays the elite sports or the elite behavior in this realm can't always translate backwards to, for instance, a boxer. You're not going to go home and start boxing people around the house. So you have to learn to pull the two apart. And if you can't do that, well, then you work with me. And then after I'm done, if I can't get it done, God gets it done. Sorry, but, you know. So anyway, that was just quickly, roughly putting out there some of the upcoming things. I'm also going to talk about suicide, because I don't believe that the majority of practitioners that deal with suicidal tendencies, I don't believe they're dealing with it right. And I have thought that for probably 40 years. So it's time for me to finally say some of this stuff out loud to somebody. Even if you're only one subscriber, it's okay, as long as I get people to think and to perhaps change the world one little step at a time. I have to do what I can do before I leave this earth, because I'm not done yet. So getting to the new, I don't like attention, and I like anonymity. I love it, in fact, because I'm free to coerce wherever I want to. That's not the right word, but that's the word I chose. So I did write notes down, and if I do upload the video that I made a couple days ago, you'll find out I'm having difficulty reading. I wear bifocals. I have bifocals on underneath these glasses. So if you can see them, sorry, this is not a beauty channel. Attorneys. I have now seen at least 2 YouTube channels, and maybe a third one, I'm not real sure. And I watched what the lawyers, attorneys / were saying about the Hans Niemann lawsuit. And every time I'm just like, oh my God, what the hell? An elite attorney is not, okay, an elite attorney is not going to be so ignorant. That's not the word I want, but I'm going to use that one. Ignorant to really have any type of a concrete opinion on this lawsuit. First of all, they should say, well, I haven't seen the evidence. And as an attorney, and as a courtesy to the attorneys who actually filed this lawsuit, they should be able to say, you know what, we've got to trust that those attorneys have the evidence in front of them, at least a lot of it, in which indicates that the jurisdiction that they chose is appropriate. Okay? Otherwise, we've got way too many people speaking out about things that they maybe should not be speaking out about. I understand why they're doing it, because people want some kind of answer or some type of understanding as to what's going on. And I also understand it's clickbait. It's what it is. But I get absolutely rambunctious when it comes to people speaking out about things that they really need to bite their tongue on. Now, jurisdiction was the one that got me, and I brought this up in the other video, but I'm just going to read this the way I wrote it. Is it possible that the filing in Missouri is because emails were forwarded to Hans between the parties that he filed against were received and sent while the defendants were physically in Missouri? Now that could be a bearing. If they were physically in Missouri when they received those emails or text messages or whatever, that might be an issue in jurisdiction, or at least a toe in the water. Why not? Nakamura's name is in, or no, Magnus's name is in the group of companies. What I saw is that his representative, which is also a Carlson, which presumably could be his father, owns 5 million shares, 5 million plus shares. So, you know, and plus, when you put Magnus's name in the Magnus Carlsen, or not Carlsen, Magnus Group, I think it's called, you've got Magnus's name in there for a reason. And that reason is to garner attention, obviously, because Magnus Carlsen is the world champion. Otherwise, why do you have that name in there? I mean, I think the defendants should have to prove why did you use that name? Why didn't you use Corky or just any other name? No, you used that name because it got the attention, because people invested in it, because people played the chess matches, because so that's why Magnus Carlsen and the Magnus Group is part of the lawsuit. I mean, it's again, I'm reading from this. Premature for lawyers to analyze when they haven't seen the evidence. Part where someone, okay, this was another one. Apparently this wrench person, well, this was a conjecture, I think, but part where someone internal told Magnus that Hans was a cheat leads to a collusion. Coercion in ultimatum. In ultimatum? I don't know. I can't read what I wrote. Again, I can't read what I wrote. But, you know, what are the privacy laws with chess.com? Do they say that anything internal should not be shared with the public? And if there are numerous people cheating on chess.com and they're found out and they've been suspended, if it's okay for them to remain private and the breach of confidentiality isn't present, then how could that not be an issue if one of the representatives from chess.com told Magnus that he or she knows for a fact that Hans has been cheating? That's a breach of confidentiality, if that in fact is written into the chess.com. So that's part of why chess.com could be about this. And that could also be another collusion part. I mean, let's get real, attorneys out there. You're killing me. Preparation includes all online information before it could be removed. Okay, so the attorney I just listened to yesterday at the very end said that discovery was really important. Well, hell yeah, it's important. Unless, but they have to get to discovery. Well, I would think the attorneys, what is it, Ovid and Ovid or something like that, when Hans came to him, I'm pretty sure Hans is not a dumb guy by any means. If I were doing this case and I were the plaintiff, I would have all my ducks in a row before I even looked at choosing an attorney. And I would go in there and go, this, and this. I would have the proof right in front of me. Then anything in discovery just adds to the volume of proof that I've got. Otherwise it's menial. It's non-combative. There's nothing there. Akiro, or whatever his name is, Nakamura. Correspondence with Magnus is relevant, and it should go back 2 years, not just recently, because Magnus, as I state in the other one, I think I put it in there, when you have enemies out there, and those enemies are your opponents, and I don't mean enemies as in ///, I mean enemies as in a contested opponent. You need to be at the elite level. You're aware of everything they're doing. It's instinctual in you. So if Magnus knew that Hans was going to be a threat, even 2 years down the line, he started watching him 2 years ago. And if he didn't, that's just foolish. You don't remain your status without knowing who's coming up the pike. You know, that's nuts. And if anybody wants more lessons, no, I'm kidding. How do you know that wasn't what Magnus was thinking? Okay, so apparently the onus is on Hans to prove that he wasn't cheating. Okay, we gotta change this law. You know, there's no question in my mind that Magnus felt threatened by Hans. I don't know that it had anything to do with cheating. And I think I mentioned that in the other video, that I hesitate to say anything because, well, frankly, if anybody wants to sue me, good luck with that. I'm living in poverty, you know? And that's maybe the thing I'll leave you with. Never, ever, ever equate intelligence with money or money with intelligence. I know many a powerful person that lives in poverty. Many, that's not a gauge. In today's society, it apparently is for the general public, but don't be a part of the general public. Be your own self. Be what Steve Jobs said. Change the world. Be different. And be happy about that. Be happy that you have that balance in life where intelligence does not equal money and money doesn't equal intelligence. After I told you I'm going to go and buy that Powerball. I can give it all away. That's what my children are afraid of. I'll give it all away. So I think I said everything I wanted to say in this one. Stay tuned, because I'm going to have fun doing this, even if nobody listens. But, you know, maybe at one point I could be intelligent and be able to pay my rent if you subscribe. Gotta do it. Gotta say it. Okay, love you guys. And I don't know who you are, and I tell people that all the time, so don't take it personal.